And welcome to First Byte, the usual preview podcast for Pride of Detroit, PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. I'm doing the usual introduction because I'm stepping in for Jeremy Reisman this week. I am Chris Perfett, your adequate, very adequate host. It is First Byte. It's our interview series. We are in free agency, which means we're going to talk about specific free agents as we move along here, leading up to the NFL draft. And we're going to get started today with former Bengals defensive tackle DJ Reader. We will explain in a second. But first, Ryan Matthews, my man, the editor at prideofdetroit.com, at Ryan_POD, rock god. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm hanging. We are hanging. How about that? I have a new game day chalice. It is a Honolulu Blue Tiki mug, and it's already filled up for today because we're toasting our guest here.
Yeah, bring him in.
It is Mike, and I asked him 2 times on this one, Santagata. Did I get that close? I apologize, Mike. No, not at all.
No, you got worse.
I got worse.
Right. You got it right like last time.
I should have practiced at least 8 more times. Mike Santagata.
Santagata.
Santagata. Let me try that again. Mike Santagata is our Bengals expert here today. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how's it going? I'll pretend the first one didn't happen.
Yeah, it's fine. This stuff happens. You write for All Bengals and co-host of It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. So welcome. I believe this is your second time on the show. First time with me, which is you're getting to know the unprofessional side of us.
It's the second time. Yeah, I did way back when the Bengals-Lions game was at Burrow's second year, and the year the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, and we had no idea that the Bengals were a Super Bowl team. I remember going on and be like, I think they could beat this Lions team, but they're not the greatest team.
Both our teams definitely had a bit of a glow up since that time. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So we want to bring you on to talk about DJ Reader, formerly of the Cincinnati Bengals, drafted by the Texans, in 2016, out of the University of Clemson. Been playing for Bengals since 2020. Now signing this offseason with the Detroit Lions. As always, I usually get nothing but good things from some of my friends who are Bengals fans talking about DJ Reader. I know he was a bit of a hot commodity on the market out there. What can you tell us about his time at Clemson? At Cincinnati.
He was incredible. I mean, he was probably I think he was the first signing of like this Bengals era. So it kind of marked almost the end of the era, where it was the year that they were eventually, in a couple months afterward or a month after, going to draft Joe Burrow and T. Higgins to kind of kickstart everything. And he was the first big signing. It kind of felt weird as anybody who followed the Bengals, like, they're spending money and it's like on a defensive tackle. Okay. And he's been awesome. I don't think that there's a lot negative you can say. He's been everything they asked for. He outplayed his contract with the Bengals. The injury stuff, we'll get there, but that is its own beast. I think sadly he missed out on extra money if he didn't get injured, because he was still rocking at a really high level this past year before the injury. But overall, I think if you were a Bengals fan the past couple of seasons, he was one of the biggest factors on why this team became great, honestly. With how bad the two offenses were in that Super Bowl, I think there was a legitimate case that he could have been Super Bowl MVP, because he had a sack and he almost single-handedly stopped the Rams' run game. The Rams had no run game in that game. And Brian Allen, I feel like, lost his contract because of how he did against DJ Reader in that game. So you could have made the case. I don't think anybody would have listened besides like me and a couple other people who cared about that. They would have given it to T. Higgins, 2 touchdowns if the Bengals won. But he was awesome in that game. He was awesome in that playoff run. Huge in stopping Derrick Henry in the divisional round. Just overall massive importance to the Bengals team the past 4 years.
Yeah, so if I can circle back to DJ Reader signs in the 2020 offseason, like you said, it seemed a little bit out of character for Cincinnati to be spending, in free agency, and on top of that, doing it on a defensive tackle. What kind of position was he immediately put in with the Bengals in terms of, was he a leader for that defense? Was he a guy who, in his press conference, was signing with Detroit. He mentioned he's more of a lead by example kind of guy. What kind of leadership qualities did he, exhibit in Cincinnati, and especially going from, a team in Houston to going to Cincinnati and kind of, like you said, jump starting that rebuild? What was his role as kind of a leader?
Yeah, definitely a lead by example type, kind of the type that I think he had a few quotes. Can't remember exactly, but it was basically like, you could talk all this, but what you do on the field is what matters. Showed it every week, consistently great play. And he may not have been as vocal. I feel like he's been really open and honest with the media. He's always been a good interview on that aspect of it. When it comes to leadership inside the locker room, I do think it was more of a lead by example. It always felt like they did have somebody else who might have been the rah-rah vocal guy. Not that he never was. He can get fired up. But I do think lead by example, as he described it, is probably the best way to describe his leadership style on the defense.
So there was a lot of noise from Bengals writers and people familiar with the Cincinnati Bengals about how great of a person he is, and just I think we had, what was the stuff from Joe Goodberry? Absolute joy to watch when healthy. He eats space, holds the point of attack, stack and shed blockers. So what was really the reasoning for the Bengals to kind of move on from Reader? Was it just injury right there, or were there just other concerns, or was the money, or what have you?
They're a very risk averse team, I would say, in free agency. So when you've got a guy that's going to be 30 and he's coming off a quad tear, I think that leads itself into explaining why they didn't want to give him a lot of money. Now, why they hung on to it like they thought they might be able to sign him, because they didn't look at any other defensive tackles until it was about a done deal in Detroit. I don't know, but yeah, I would say when you got the age and injury concerns combined, they don't like paying either one of those things. So when you've got both, if you're looking at a team that's, they love them, but they are a team that is going to let somebody else, handle that. And it could turn out great. Maybe the injury's serious and he's not going to recover as well and play at the same level, but they are not going to be the team to, find out whether or not it's going to work out. I think at least they're not going to put a lot of money into that.
So something that got brought up during DJ Reader's press conference here in Detroit was talking about his role as maybe being a mentor in Detroit to a young defensive tackle that the Lions drafted last season in Broderick Martin. Didn't get a lot of time last year. Broderick Martin he's very much a work in progress. But DJ Reader talked about, in Houston, when he got to Houston, he played under Vince Wilfork. And I mean, what kind of guy would be better, to learn under than somebody like Wilfork? Was there any opportunities that DJ had in Cincinnati where he kind of took on a mentor role, or was he more so a mentee? Geno Atkins still there in Cincinnati when DJ Reader got there? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm pretty sure he was there his first year, but I think he got hurt or something. Like he wasn't on the field very
Not
often,
a lot of overlap there in terms of field,
yeah,
right? Okay.
Yeah. Not too much mentorship really, because they didn't have a ton of young defensive tackles. There's Zach Carter, but Zach Carter hasn't really developed. So I don't want to put that on DJ Reader. I mean, that's a defensive,
sure.
That's the whole staff, like that's not on him. Maybe he's taken them under his wing a little bit, maybe not. I feel like he more so just kind of fit in as one of the peers, not really a mentee, because they didn't really have anybody in his position like a Vince Wilfork that was older than him, teaching him the ropes. Like Geno wasn't really there at that time. Maybe Mike Daniels, his first year and a half, 2 years.
Former Lion.
Yeah. Some more overlap for the immaculate grid people.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit there, because Mike Daniels was a very vocal, rah-rah leader. So maybe he's able to take some stuff from that. Otherwise, it felt like he was just kind of in the group. You look at Trey Hendrickson and DJ Reader and Sam Hubbard, that none of them were really mentoring or teaching each other much, but they were all kind of lead by example and show their work on the field types.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, I have a quick follow-up.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Usually like a little bit of a rhythm with Jeremy and I would go back and forth, but so you bring up a couple of names right there. Sam Hubbard, you bring up Trey Hendrickson. I know the concern with a lot of Lions fans with the DJ Reader signing. I mean, they love it, But I think the one bit of trepidation they have is, well, the Lions really need a defensive end on the other side of Hutchinson. Like they need somebody who can get after the quarterback. Can you talk a little bit about what DJ Reader's game provides for those guys on the outside in terms of the kind of attention that he brings to the offense and making sure that they're stopping him up the middle, and what that did for both Sam Hubbard's development and also for Trey Hendrickson, who's developed into one hell of a pass rusher in the NFL.
Yeah, I think with Reader, there is a little bit of pass rush when he's left one-on-one. I think when you look at some of the advanced metrics, pass rush, win rate, everything else, I can tell you last season and a little bit of the season before, towards the end of the year, because of some injuries, he was probably the second best guy rushing the passer after Hendrickson. Now, that's also a little bit of a statement of what else was going on.
Sure,
but
yeah,
it's also like he can do it. Like he can rush the passer a little bit. He even had a sack taken, maybe 2 sacks taken away from penalties this season. So it could have been even better numbers. I think what you're really looking at is that he's more of like a force multiplier where he's, head up right next to the center, whatever. He's going to take up the center and typically also a guard. And what that's going to do is you've got so many resources on the offensive line when you're in pass protection. So 2 are taken up there. You're usually rushing 4 guys. There's 3 other offensive linemen. So 3 offensive linemen for 3 guys. You're probably creating one-on-one situations, at least with offensive linemen, maybe throw tight ends, whatever in there. But I feel like that is a help when you've got a guy that they're always going to kind of need a little bit of help. This is a big dude, and your center, typically one of your smallest linemen. So you might need to, keep the guard a little tight and close to try to help out there. I also think probably get them into more 3rd and longs. I mean, one of the best things that he's going to give you is every week, as long as he recovers from the injury, every week going to give you awesome run defense. And I feel like he gives you the style of run defense that you can devote. We just talked about resource management, but more resource management. You can devote less resources to the run game now. You don't have to have a safety down in the box to get the same effect. When they played Derrick Henry, they always had a safety down there, but then, the Titans weren't throwing the ball. But like plenty of times they'll play both safeties back and just trust the front 6 to make the play against the 6, play even in the box, not +1, because Reader's taking up 2 gaps. He's taking up both A gaps in the situation, or an A and a B gap, just able to allow you to devote more resources to your coverage, make your coverage tighter, and then that'll put teams in the 3rd and longs. Ideally, I think he comes off the field in those 3rd and longs more than not, just so you can get him some rest. Big guys, I don't like them playing more than 65% of snaps personally. I feel like that's when they get hurt, but he'll get you into some good pass rush situations. And when they do throw the ball when he's on the field, he typically can require a double team.
Yeah, I remember I was looking at the PFF grades he had for last year, and like it's actually his pass rush was even better than his run defense. Especially, not a ton of sacks, but definitely someone who gets those kind of hurries. And I think that's how the Lions like to play. You know this, Ryan. Like, this is how the Lions like to play their 3rd downs. They just want you to in distance and really make a mistake at a key critical junction.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions are all kind of built on stopping the run and getting their opponents off schedule, get them behind the sticks, and forcing them into those, 3rd and passing situations that, Mike is talking about, that Reader only makes even better. Like the Lions were the number 1 defense in run defense DVOA last season. So Chris, I think the thing I'm most excited about DJ Reader is that the Lions recognize that like complacency is not a place that they ever want to be. And they're willing to devote some more resources to, Aleem McNeil is one hell of a player. You put DJ Reader next to him, that's quite the force.
I was going to say, like, this division's already changing its running backs. I mean, Aaron Jones moves around, and suddenly you got Josh Jacobs in the division now, too. It's definitely, for the run game as well, something where you have to kind of keep up. We've talked about this before, like, it might be more of a passing league, but it's definitely still an arms race to, guarantee that teams in the division in the North are not going to get run on at any point.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to talk a little bit about what the Bengals kind of go from here. I know not as much interest to our listeners, but I know it was replacing Reader with Sheldon Rankins, I believe, was the move in free agency. you kind of expect things to be different, or like, is there something that you kind of look at Rankins and you think like, all right, he needs to do what to replace Reader for someone like the Bengals?
Well, they're gonna if that's the plan, they just need to kind of change the fronts they play because I would not put Rankins into Reader's situation and expect similar results. I feel like Rankins, great pass rusher. I think he's a better pass rusher than Reader, even though I said Reader's a solid pass rusher. I think Rankins, I mean, if he was more consistent, he could be awesome. But as it stands, he could beat high end guys. He was beating Chris Lindstrom, Kevin Zeitler, Alex Kappa a lot, as Bengals fans know, that he could take these guys on and win. So you're getting a guy that could be a really high end pass rusher, okay run stopper, not good against double teams, which is the opposite of Reader. Reader gonna every week provide clinic tape on how to take on double teams and just be an unmovable force. I would expect the Bengals to add another Reader type. Now, there's not much left. They interviewed Tyre Tart, and they didn't really vibe with it, so they didn't sign him. And it sounds like they're not going to sign him. So where do you go from there? Because I was really the last younger nose tackle out there. Maybe you just make a 1-year deal with a guy, and you look into the draft. You've got Devondre Sweat maybe in round 2 that they could look to replace him with. I don't think it'll just be they just take Rankins and expect him and BJ Hill to be able to perform the Reader role.
I think that was my last question, actually, to go back to Reader, was about kind of the years. Lions give him 2 years, absolutely short term. Like, from your read on Reader, how, like, is that the right move? I mean, as you say, he's in his 30s here now. He's going to be 30 before the 2024 season, excuse me. So he'll be 31 by the time the Lions are done with him. And I just know this is kind of how the Lions do their contracts, are short term, but is there any concern in your mind, like looking to him as he goes to his 30s, or you could expect him to keep playing for another 5-6 years, or or is that the right move, just kind of going short term on him?
Yeah, it's tough, especially when you can't tell what's going to happen. I think it's all based on that quad injury and then any injuries in the future. He's missed some games here and there. He actually had the same injury in 2020 and then came back and was awesome in 2021, but he's older now. So can you still come back at the same rate? I think all of that would factor into it. I think the 2-year deal is probably fine because you're going to want to, I think eventually it gets to the point where you're eventually this is going to crater. Now, I think nose tackles, the closer you are to the ball, you look at these offensive tackles are playing until they're 38 now or something. So Tyron Smith's 36, still signing big deals. Trent Williams, best tackle in the league. He's 36, 37. He's been in the league forever. So look at DJ Reader, it's like he could play until he's late 30s. I mean, Vince Wilfork was still a pretty effective guy pretty late in his career in similar position. And some of these a lot of nose tackles don't drop off. When I looked into it, probably about age 32 is when the average nose tackle starts kind of falling off a little bit. But there's injuries related. And I feel like injuries are always going to be a factor into this. So I feel like with the risk involved, I think a 2-year deal is fine. And you can always extend that or whatever if he plays at an awesome level this season, no injuries, and you're going to the next season, maybe throw another year on the deal on. Bengals just did that with Trey Hendrickson, just extend 1 year, kind of lower the cap hit and keep him on the team for what might be a little bit cheaper because the market might get better.
Yeah, and so I guess that's my question, Mike, is seeing the deal that they gave to Rankins and the deal that Reader got from Detroit. And I know they're not a 1-to-1 swap, as you mentioned, but in the grand scheme of things, do you feel like, hey, the Bengals kind of missed an opportunity to do something short term to get the band back together, because the Bengals have been a pretty good defense with Reader in the middle? Do you feel like the Bengals maybe missed the boat on this one, or do you feel like it was the right time to kind of move on?
Me personally, I feel like they missed the boat. I would have actually liked to sign Rankins and Reader and kind of try to recreate what they had in 2021 when they had Larry Ogunjobi, they had DJ Reader, and they had BJ Hill. So you finally replaced that Larry Ogunjobi component of this. They never were able to find that. But now you lose DJ Reader. So now you're looking for the Reader replacement of this trio. And it's tough because you're spending a lot of money in that situation. Felt like they had the money to make that deal. Didn't feel like it was too risky. I feel like they'll regret it, but time will tell. Me personally, I am with the idea like, I think you should have tried a little harder to keep Reader around, because I think he wanted to stay too, but they weren't giving him really a competitive offer.
Yeah, and I think he talked about that a little bit in his press conference too. He talked about just relationships and how they kind of change over time, and I don't think he was throwing any subliminals at Cincinnati's way, but kind of just change, speaking to maybe the way that things kind of evolve or maybe devolve over time in terms of relationships and things like that. If I had one last question about DJ Reader as a player to kind of give your way, Mike, and something that I quote tweeted a compilation of like over 7 minutes of DJ Reader snaps that every Lions fan should go and watch right now, because you make it to like minute 3 and it's like, what can't this guy do? Because yeah, the pass rush stuff, like it happens in spurts, and there's flashes where it's like, holy smokes, like that guy is way too big to be blowing by players with the kind of speed and agility that he has. But man, as a run defender, like this guy's ability to hold off blocks and like just hold his ground, it's something really impressive. And I think that there was one snap against the Steelers. I'm not sure which year it was, but I mean, he takes on that double team and you're not moving the guy and he makes the play. But the question I have is just how much versatility does he have along the defensive line? Because I saw him either, like you said, either he's a straight up nose. I even saw snaps where he was lined up outside the guard. Like, is that all part of his bag?
Yeah, I would say so. I think he's best when he's near the center, but there's situations that they wanted to put him over the guard, outside the guard. I can actually think of a specific one was the divisional round against the Titans, where they actually had a guy, he's off the team now, that was bigger than Reader. So they put him as the head up nose and they put Reader at 3 tech, and he dominated that game. Whether it was against Roger Saffold or Nate Davis or whoever, he was just taking it to him. A big reason why the Titans couldn't get their run game going was because they had a guy that just kind of held point in the middle. Maybe he got moved a little sometimes even because he wasn't really a talented player, he's just big. And then Reader would just be dominating his solo block so well that he'd be in the backfield. It felt like every rush attempt. So that's in his bag. I would expect mostly to be over the center, but say you get a game plan, a situation, or it's going to happen every game too. I mean, guys just slide over sometimes. He could play outside there. It's not like he is a true zero nose tech kind of Vince Wilforky that really he's just there for that role. And then anytime you want to get a 3 tech out there, you're just going to take him off the field.
All right, Mike, where can the people find you at for all of your material if they want more Bengals talk?
I would follow the Twitter account, X account, whatever, at Bengals_Sands. If you don't have that, then I guess check out the work at All Bengals, Sports Illustrated. The web stuff is still going, even though the print stuff canceled. Or if you want to listen to my podcast, it's always Game Day in Cincinnati.
That's right. And I'm sure we can hear your thoughts at some point about the ridiculous hip drop tackle rule change that the NFL is trying to really throw out here to just completely destroy football at this point.
Yeah, it'll be out there somewhere.
I don't like it. I feel like an old man when we suddenly screaming about the rule changes. They got me there, Ryan. They got me there.
It happens. It happens to all of us.
I know. What happened to the game I love? All right, we're going to get out of here for the podcast side of things. Mike, thank you for all of your input here, helping us get to know DJ Reader, the new Lions defensive tackle. Ryan, thank you for helping to carry the load here as Jeremy continues to sip Mai Tais at a beach somewhere in parts unknown. And for myself, I'm Chris Perfett, at Chris Perfett on Twitter. We'll see you Starside. And guess what? I'm going to have to take this from the Twitch stream because I completely forgot to hit record.
There we go.
There it is. There it is. I was waiting for me to really fuck up in some way.
Oh, well, hey, Mike, you're free to go, man.
Yeah, we're going to stick around on Twitch for a little
Appreciate you
bit.
hopping on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Wow, I haven't done that
Take
for
care.
a really long time. All right, we are, let me switch that back. I haven't done, hold on. I'm getting the adequate, but no, Ryan, you'll be my guest. I haven't done that in a long time.
You know what? It happens to the best of us, though,
Well, I'm not the best of us. I'm far from it.
Well, you're not always the worst of us.
You sure about that? All right. Yeah, no, I will definitely get that. I think we only had a couple of alerts at the start, so I can like play around that. It's fine. It's fine. We have the tools to skim from Twitch and YouTube, so we'll take care of that when we take care of that. Let's see what else. Yeah, I kind of threw the fire at the end about the hip drop tackles, but I'll stay live for a little bit here. I'm sure we have some questions to take care of. Talk Tigers, Chris. I will not talk Tigers because that's how I lose Ryan from this podcast. Although I guess Ohtani's interpreter, did you see this story, Ryan, was once again, people are just being, it's not players making bets, it's like the people all around him are around these organizations. So first it was the guy with the Jaguars, and now Ohtani's interpreter is embezzling about $4.5 million from Ohtani and just using it to go gamble.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's him or did you see the school teacher that was I think they were selling candy bars as a fundraiser, and it was like 20 something grand that he took and went and gambled.
Oh man.
I mean, did they ask him though? At least like he was trying to double it up, right? He was trying to double out and give it all back, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of like a reverse 50-50.
Yeah. Why didn't I ask him about Zeitler? We did bandy around, and I asked him before, hey, the Bengals drafted Zeitler. Is it something you want to talk about? And Mike didn't really have anything from that time frame with the Bengals, so we didn't want to like bring it up to him. It's not something he had any information on. So
yeah, Kevin Zeitler, old guy.
Yeah.
Played for the Bengals a long time ago, so yeah. I understand that.
By the way, Ryan, since you weren't with us on PODcast, what are your immediate thoughts on the Zeitler signing?
It's cool. It's exciting. I hope that there's another. I hope that being a part of this group and getting a chance to work with Hank Fraley affords him the opportunity to maybe flash some more ability as a run blocker. But I mean, I'm super excited at the kind of wall that guy is in terms of pass protection, because we know that if there's any kind of pass protection that really gets to Jared Goff, it's anything up the middle. So
absolutely very different when he has Frank Ragnow and when he doesn't. And still short term. Once again, I don't think it takes guard off the table for them in the draft at all.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's off the table for them.
Are you worried at all that he's going to be right guard? So it means you probably have to move Glasgow over and ask him to play left guard for the immediate, pending anything in the draft.
Yeah, I don't know. Like when Graham was drafted in 2016, that was, I mean, he played an awful lot of right guard, left guard. I think he's logged over 1,700 snaps there in his NFL career. He filled in this past season against Baltimore. I know that might not be the best example of a Lions player's performance to point to the Baltimore game and say, well, they did it there in that blowout of the game. But I think Graham has the ability to move. And that's one of the things that I think everybody loves about Graham so much is like, oh, he can play any spot along the interior of the offensive line.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, well, like now's the time to believe in that. Now's the time to like put that to test, right? Is like, okay, like he can play every position. Let's see him play left guard. But I have full faith in him to make that kind of transition because he's a veteran at this point, right? Like he's been around the block. Like I said, it's not like a foreign position for him. And I know it's weird moving from one side to the other. The famous Josh Sitton quote about, moving from one side of the line to the other side of the line is like trying to wipe your ass with your other hand. I get it. And it might be a little bit messy in the beginning, but that's what training camp's for. That's what the preseason's for. That's what, and Graham's a professional, like I said. So I think he's going to be just fine. Let
me get to a couple alerts and address one thing because I know people are asking about it. It is of the opinion of both myself and Ryan right now, and for most of us, that we're not going to address. There's nothing. It's not that we're not going to address the Cameron Sutton situation. It's that there's nothing we can add to it right now. It's an ongoing situation. It's volatile. It's scary, but I don't know what you want us to talk about it. And any Lions-specific way of talking about it, about what it means for the cap or the contract or anything else, is quite frankly in extremely poor taste and quite irrelevant to the situation at hand. These are real people here. These aren't the pieces on a shuffling board for Madden Dynasty mode. I don't feel comfortable discussing a man's contract when he's currently has a search warrant out for his arrest, and various situations of the story that just make it frankly scary. If you really want to read about it, if you really want to know about it, you can go to prideofdetroit.com. We have some good written material there. All I will say is look for credible sources. And by credible, I mean actual people who write for actual newspapers and actual websites, not aggregators, not Detroit Lions fan Twitter accounts or influencers. I don't care about any of that stuff. But there's nothing we can really, either myself or Ryan, can really add to this situation that is respectable to all the parties involved. Do I have that? Did I nail that down, Ryan?
Yeah. And I mean, it's ongoing, right? Like, we know what we know now, and that's all we know. Anything else beyond that is speculation. I think the only thing that we can talk about in regards to the Detroit Lions is they signed a couple, or I mean, they made a few moves to get some cornerbacks this offseason, right? Like, they traded for Carlton Davis. They signed Amik Robertson. They brought back Emmanuel Mosley. We'll see what happens with Cam Sutton, but I think, like you said, at this time, there's not a whole lot to add to the discussion beyond speculation.
Yeah. So there's that. I will go through some alerts in a second. I did do the hip drop tackle thing, but I think, is that universal, Ryan? Just everyone hates this?
I think so. I understand the players wanting to be protected, but
well, the PA came out and said, like, they don't want this either.
Yeah, because ultimately, right, you're putting the chicken before the egg, or whatever kind of analogy, the cart before the, I don't know, but like, just teach people how to tackle the right way.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not even that. It's like it's gonna be a subjective call, which means even more confusion from an officiating crews that are just completely overworked and asked to weigh in on too many subjective calls to begin with. I'm sorry that people get hurt playing football. I really am, but I don't know what we're supposed to really do about it. Like, and I don't want to be the guy, again, I don't want to be the guy going, this is turning into tackle football, two-hand touch. Like, it's not that, but at the same time, like, I see the intentions in this, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah. It comes back to just teaching things the right way, and teaching people how to tackle the right way. That starts at a really young age, right? But by the time they're professionals, I mean, you got to know how to hit, and you got to know how to take a hit too at the same time. So yeah, I don't know. I'm all for taking measures to make the sport less dangerous, but this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like this hip drop tackle stuff feels a bit prisoner of the moment because of a bad injury that happened to Mark Andrews.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. The NFL only reacts to this stuff this quickly when one of their big stars gets hurt in a standalone game.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady takes that low hit, and everything changes, right?
Even better example, they try that short-lived aborted situation with PI after the Rams-Saints playoff game. And that was an abomination, and I think they kind of slowly walked it back, right?
Yeah, I think so, if I'm remembering it correctly.
So it's just, I don't know. Like, I understand this is like them talking security, but like, I think if the PA is against you, it's like, all right, give up on this one. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, the PA's like number one job is protecting and promoting the interests of the players.
Yeah. We do have just about 3 alerts to do real quick. Sammy Boys resubscribed using his Prime subscription for 17 months, saying up Cam Sutton. Again, we have nothing to add to that. I do feel bad for the other football player named Cam Sutton, who is on Twitter, and a tight end from Fresno State currently playing in the United Football League.
Yeah, leave him alone.
Yeah, that's not Cameron Sutton on Twitter. That's a different Cam Sutton. D Parente using their Prime subscription for 16 months, and JW Lagina Prime 24 months with the Kool-Aid emoji. Thank you. That's all I have here for that so far right now. We're kind of in the we're getting to the dead periods a little bit. I have to go fill out a tournament bracket here for March Madness, although I know absolutely nothing about any of these teams. Just that I'm glad Virginia's not
entirely too much.
Are you shocked that Michigan State made it in?
Yeah, because they're not good. They're like not a good basketball team.
You know, I'm talking about the wrong Michigan school. Let's talk about your alma mater. Let's talk about your alma mater. Let's talk about Oakland. Let's talk about the Grizz.
Hey, this is not gambling advice, but I'll take 13.5 points in the Golden Grizzlies versus Kentucky.
That Kentucky is like the only team with NBA draft-worthy players on it right now, I think. But
hey, this is a college tournament, baby. This is a college tournament. We're not worried about 10 NBA players.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. Last time they were in the tournament, I was, man, I'm blanking on the name of the student hall that's at Oakland, but we were all gathered there watching the Grizzlies get their lunch money taken by Texas. It was fun though. I mean,
no, it was.
Making it to the dance is awesome for a school like Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing that keeps it fun for me right now is the small schools. Like, so, I don't know. By the way, speaking of small schools, I did see DJ Reader is born in the same town I was born in.
Go figure.
Born in Greensboro.
Yeah, he talked about in his introductory press conference, he talked about how Carolina has the best athletes in the country.
I don't know about best, but it's up there. Understated as a football state, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I have to do my brackets here later. Not looking too terribly for of it. It's probably gonna be the most random ass bracket I create. I think people are going to more be watching the women's side of things, but
hey, women's college basketball it's in right now.
It is. I take pride in that I can apparently make someone I work with upset who is an Iowa person by just talking about
Angel Reese?
No, Juju Watkins. Things that Juju Watkins is having the better season.
Yeah. March. It's a great month.
It is. I think we've had some fun with free agency. Outside of the Lions, what was kind of the one move that kind of threw you for a loop?
Justin Fields getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
For only a 6. That's the other thing I didn't get to talk to you. We did talk some quarterbacks in the last when you weren't here. We talked Kirk Cousins and Fields. I am of the belief that is his actual market rate, is a 6 conditional to 4th. Like, I know that we are close to the subject. We probably think higher of Fields. I do not think the rest of the league thinks very highly of Fields. And I think the Bears kind of tipped their hand a little too hard and panicked a little bit and didn't try to get value out of it, just wanted to clear the room.
Yeah. It's just weird that we live in a world because I think I can say with a fair amount of conviction that I would rather have Justin Fields quarterbacking a football team than Mac Jones. And they essentially fetch the same return.
Kenny Pickett got a bigger return for the Steelers than the Steelers paid for Justin Fields.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I don't quite understand. And again, maybe it's being a Lions fan and watching Justin Fields.
I think this is exactly it, but yes, go on.
Yeah, I think that's some of it, but also, it wasn't like Justin Fields was like incredible against Detroit and awful against everybody else. I also don't think that was true. But I can look up and down the league, and there's at least 6, 7, 8 teams where, I would rather roll the dice on Justin Fields this year than go into the season with what I currently have at quarterback. The Las Vegas Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden O'Connell? That's your guy?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't get that. Like, I think some of the other teams, like, I expect the Vikings to try to figure out a way to take a quarterback. Because I don't see them going into the season with, who's on their roster right now? Jaron Hall and
Sam Darnold.
And that's right. I keep forgetting they picked up Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Sam Darnold is not better than Justin Fields. I don't think much of Justin Fields, but not enough to put Sam Darnold above him. So for all those who keep saying I'm a USC slappy because I believe in Caleb Williams, like, my out is that I have never thought Sam Darnold was a good quarterback, even at USC.
Yeah, that car alarm is not me.
No, that's me. That's me. I'm sorry. Yeah. Let me. That's been going on for a minute now, hasn't it? I keep waiting.
But
it's still going. It's going to be going for a few minutes too.
Looking around, I mean, New England. I mean, unless you're dead set on taking the third quarterback,
I think they are.
Because
yeah.
Okay, and that's fine if you want to go that route. But also, I don't know. Like, is your team a quarterback away?
No.
Is your team a quarterback away, and also you might not be getting the first quarterback you want, or maybe even the second quarterback you want? You're willing to compromise and say, okay, we'll take the third quarterback if that so happens to be true.
I mean, who is that third quarterback too? Is it going to be? I'm not buying into the push on people on Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I feel like I'm buying into like people believing that Jaden Daniels can get drafted higher than people expect. But I'm not sure if I necessarily believe in Jaden Daniels.
Sure, yeah.
Like,
I think right now ESPN is ranking him above Drake May. That seems,
I don't know. I saw a really interesting stat yesterday though that like Drake May faced, I think it was either 32 or 36 third and 11s or longer last season, which was the most of any quarterback in FBS.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of tough.
Yeah. And again,
continuously play from that.
You bring up the Raiders. You bring up we bring up Minnesota. Like, after Drake May, it starts to drop off precipitously. I know I'm going to lose this fight on J.J. McCarthy, but I don't have any faith in a team that takes J.J. McCarthy and expects to throw him in there day one. After that, Bo Nix, Michael Penix both have their limitations, and I think Penix has the injury history. And then after that, are we talking about Spencer Rattler, Joe Milton, Sam Hartman?
I don't know. There's a whole list of names of guys who are destined to end up as 5th, 6th, 7th round picks.
There is
priority free agents. I mean,
there is one guy, and then there's a drop off, and then there's like one or two other guys, and then there's a much steeper drop off. Then there's 3 more guys, and then it's a sheer cliff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I can't even think about. I guess it's the nice thing about not needing a quarterback is I don't have to worry about the quarterback tiers. I know that everybody in Minnesota, thanks to Thor Nystrom on Twitter and some other people, like the Vikings are full speed ahead on JJ McCarthy. Like the Vikings fan base really wants JJ McCarthy, and
good luck.
I know some Michigan fans might feel conflicted about that information. But they're clearly making a move though, Chris, right? Like getting that extra first round pick. Now they have 11 and 23. How high do they feel like they need to move up to?
I was going to say, I would love to see the Chargers try to, with Jim Harbaugh there, convince that they're looking at JJ McCarthy and shopping Justin Herbert just to watch the Vikings just panic. It's not going to happen, but I'm just like this idea. I've heard from other people this idea that the Vikings will trade up to like the 5th spot or the 6th, but like the Giants are quarterback needy too. I know you've given all that money to Daniel Jones. That's kind of a tough ask of everything, but I mean,
yeah,
they're in kind of a no man's land right now. And they're prime for a team like Vegas to jump them if Vegas really wants a a quarterback as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I know this might be dripping with irony considering that Malik Willis is on the roster, but like the Tennessee Titans didn't want Justin Fields.
Yeah,
The Denver Broncos didn't want Justin Fields.
The Broncos are the really crazy one. I could see Tennessee's argument that they want to give Will Levis another year to see if he can continue to work out. He flashed something, I guess. But even then, yeah, I know. Yeah, there was definitely other teams I think Fields could have. I also think Fields is going to eventually take that job from Russell Wilson, and I don't think it's going to have anything to do with Fields being good. It's just Wilson is that bad at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. The number one though is like Atlanta. Like I want to sit an Atlanta Falcons fan down and say, like, are you happy with 4 years, $180 million for Kirk Cousins? Or would you have rather had a year with Justin Fields?
On basically no rookie on a rookie salary.
Yeah, unlike it's going to cost you like next to nothing, and then on top of that, what you could have offered him a 5th round pick, and they would have done it, right?
I guess the question ultimately comes down to what is the limitation still on Justin Fields, because there was definitely a lot of limitations that just really hampered him, and like I know the attitude in Chicago got very pro Justin Fields. I do know at the same time though, that created some questions with the larger NFL watching or coverage. What's the word I'm looking for? Media group as a whole, to the point where Diana Rossini went on a Chicago podcast and they asked her and said, plenty of people in Chicago think Justin Fields should stay as the quarterback. And first off, she tried not to laugh. And then she asked, are you serious? Do you mean other people or just you guys? In that order. Like, the thought of keeping Fields was unconscionable to a lot of people. I don't know, like, I think there is still very big limitations to how Fields reads the field. But yeah, it's kind of, I think the Bears could have worked this out a little bit better. They couldn't have, if it really was just the Steelers offering, then I have bigger questions after that.
Yeah. Well, some things to chat. Like, we're 100% sure that 36-year-old Kirk Cousins is bouncing back from an Achilles injury like nothing happened. Yeah. For a guy who had barely a lick of athleticism. You're tearing one of the most important parts of your body. Like, I don't know. That's kind of tough.
There's definitely
the other thing is that he's not on his 5th year option yet. So he's still, this is his 4th year. So
I can pick that up.
I don't know. That's the other thing too, though, is like, this is year 4. You have that 5th year, like, you can make a decision on it. Like, I don't know. From a team building standpoint, like, I guess maybe the Falcons can just look at it and say, hey, I mean, the winner of our division last year was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and are they going to be that team again for another year in a row? Who knows? But maybe they view it as, we get Kirk Cousins, we have all these offensive weapons, our defense is like pretty solid for the most part, we can make a run at this thing. Okay, maybe.
The Falcons, there are a couple teams that scream they are desperate right now in free agency. The Falcons, by that Kirk Cousins deal, was definitely one of them. I think I put the Browns are kind of in that same camp. $41 million guaranteed to Jerry Jeudy on a 3-year contract.
Yeah, NFL teams have gotten pretty dumb about wide receivers this offseason, huh?
Yeah, I can. Makes me worry down the road about certain money for wide receivers, especially as we're trying to work out this extension with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But
yeah, but we have enough data that says that Amon-Ra St. Brown is a good wide receiver.
Oh, sure.
A great wide receiver, right? Like, it's not.
Yeah, but it's just, you
Tennessee,
see the money going to like a guy like Jerry Jeudy, and it's like, okay.
Or even Calvin Ridley. Like, yeah. And I'm somebody who, I don't know if I so much so now, like, I really thought this year, like, with Jacksonville, everything was set up for him to be successful. And I don't know.
Did you see? I
Strange.
think Curtis Samuel just got some money too, or last year? I think we just got the details on his contract. 3 years, 24 million, worth up to 30 million. 15 million guaranteed with the Bills. So
interesting, nonetheless.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I need to go right, so I'm going to get out of here. I don't know if you're going to stick around for a second.
No, I'll stick around for a little bit, for just a few more minutes. I won't show Ruby right now. He's kind of in his hidey hole area. But we can talk some other Detroit sports once you tap out, and then I do have to probably take this offline to pull the audio for my own uses at some point because I am an idiot.
Well, there you go.
Chris can talk Tigers now. I guess it's preseason. I don't know what you want.
Yeah, we're getting close though.
I know. Tigers are playing.
All right. See you guys.
We
it was
really
a pleasure.
should. By the way,
yeah.
Have you seen? How are you on movies right now?
How am I? I'm willing to watch them. I've not seen Dune.
Okay. I was thinking the other day, you and I should probably sit down and do a podcast series on. I would love to do a podcast series on RoboCop sometime. I was watching a director's cut thing about the scene where Clarence Boddicker kills whoever that guy is in OCP who invents RoboCop, kills him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever sent you that video of Paul Verhoeven.
You did.
I did.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's RoboCop. Fantastic stuff.
All right. Well, I'll catch up with you here soon, Ryan. So.
All right.
Thanks
See
a
ya.
lot. Okay. And now I need to go to post game. End this. I'm an idiot because I did not get my. Sorry, I need to get my face back. Hello. Okay. Is the other one? There we are. No, nope. There we are. Okay, great. We'll stick around for a little bit here. Yeah, I know the Tigers hype is kind of coming, isn't it? It's kind of coming. Casey Mize. I don't know if I can really call it the top one yet, but it's looking fun. It's looking fun. Is live chat busted? I might need to fix it. There it is. There it is. Yes, I can talk Tigers now, even though I don't really have any thoughts in my mind about Tigers. I know people are starting to do their fantasy drafts, which I have not played fantasy baseball in literal decades. But spring training's been fun. It's one of those years where I keep saying to myself I will eventually get down to spring training, and I haven't. They need to eat bias content. No more labeling yourself as an idiot. You are not one. I have to do this, man. It's a habit. I know. I think the self-deprecating phase of that being the clever thing has ended, but I am still trying to figure out my way out of it. And really, I am not. My head hurts enough that I don't think I can be confident. Did Chris go on a Caleb Williams rant again? I have not gone on one yet. I don't really feel like doing much of one right now because I am enjoying my hurricane. This just came in, and this is basically, you're going to see this a lot on post-game streams. And just podcasts in general. This is my new Lions chalice, the tiki mug. Right now it is full of hurricane. Homemade. Not frozen. I do have some frozen passion fruit. I could very well make a hurricane, but I did get some nice rum in, and I've been making Mai Tais and rum punches. And if I had ginger beer, dark and stormy, but I'm getting back into doing tiki drinks. And I have a couple of tiki mugs now. So I'll take some questions for a little bit. For about 10 minutes or so. I will not. Again, for those of you just coming in, I am not confident in speaking about the Cam Sutton situation. So we're going to not talk about it as best we can. There's nothing for us to really get into to add to the situation or to illuminate besides what has come out so far. But I'll talk some other stuff, and I will not take your bait on Caleb Williams. No, sir. I do know that I have other games to play at some point here tonight. I need to go back diving in Helldivers, especially as I am getting drunk today. I'm just doing a tremendous amount of day drinking because there is, in the words of a very, very wise prophet, Mr. Alan Jackson, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's actually 4:30 right now on the West Coast. So, co-op BTD6 when, Chris? What is BTD6? Oh, it's that Bloons thing. I've never played that. I know some friends who really were into Bloons, but I never really. So I was at like the right age to be playing tower defense games when they came out, but I just never really enjoyed them. I think I came to enjoy a few of them later on, but like I think the only tower defense game I ever tried playing was Pixel Junk Monsters from the PlayStation Store back when it was the PlayStation 3, but I never played tower. I never liked tower defense games. It was never really like a something on my mind. Do you think there is a possibility the Lions move up for a guy in the first round for a third straight year? I think so. I don't have a player in mind at all. Ice Cecil, the Lions make it very hard to figure out who they are targeting just because I don't know Brad Holmes' big board. I don't have a good approximation of what he likes. And he's very hard to pin down. He has such an expertise on college talent that when he decides to move around the board, I'm like, all right, I know you're up to something, and it's gonna like hit me. I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, you could do that, but it's hard for me to even look at mock drafts right now because it's so different when you're in the 20s versus like the teens. I mean, the top 10 or even the teens of a draft. But when you get down to like the late 20s, like I don't know what to do with the draft or who to take. It becomes so much of a crapshoot as far as who's still on the board that I just don't know what to really do with it. R.I.P. Jimmy Buffett. I'm worried how much my drink got on the stream. Yeah, R.I.P. to Jimmy Buffett. I actually grew up with a lot of Jimmy Buffett in my life. My dad was not a parrot head, but he listened. Like, I have some of the lyrics to like about a good half of Jimmy Buffett stuck in my head, and not just Margaritaville or Cheeseburger in Paradise. I'm talking about Off to See the Lizard. I'm talking about some of the Christmas songs he did, like Christmas Island. I'm talking about let me think for a bit. Fruitcakes. I want my junior mints. Where are my junior mints at? Volcano. Yeah, the volcano blows. Fins. Fins. I know the song. I know Fins. Why don't we get drunk and screw? Yeah, like there are so many Jimmy Buffett songs out there they are earworms. That man was just a master of the earworm, making something that'll get stuck in your head. But I always appreciated 5 o'clock somewhere. If there was ever, that is like, because I remember listening to that song for the first time, and I was not expecting when I first heard that song randomly on the radio to suddenly have Jimmy Buffett pop up in the middle of an Alan Jackson song. And yet as I sat there listening to 5 o'clock somewhere, as Alan Jackson and Jimmy Buffett are singing in harmony, and I'm realizing, yeah, this makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it? This really does. I actually was just at Universal Studios City Walk, and I should have gone and eaten at the Margaritaville. I was up there to see Dune Part 2 again. I ended up eating at Wasabi, which is great. I love sushi, but there was a Margaritaville, and I almost went in there. And when I went in there, I think at that point I would be admitting that I am old. I can vibe with the Jimmy Buffett life just because I am someone who appreciates living near a beach. I insist on living near the ocean. And I should send Jeremy a playlist since he is out there right now. Lions traded picks to draft Alabama's number 1 at the 12th pick in consecutive years. This year, they will trade up to 21 and draft Kool-Aid. I've noticed some Lions fans really starting to drink the Kool-Aid on Kool-Aid McKinstry. And I'm not opposed to it. I'm really not. My personal pick is still Christian Haynes, the guard out of UConn, who I think I share the mind with our old friend Kent Lee Platty in that regard. That Kent has said that if the Lions draft Christian Haynes, a player he is in love with, he will get up and just run around like a madman, and I will probably do the same. Christian Haynes is the guy I have my crush on right now. That's it. I know I've been talking about way too much about Dune Part 2. It's one of those movies that has just been stuck in my head that I feel like I'm going crazy. And I really, if I had the time and the patience, I really should just write something about it and get it out of my head. I don't know if I've told this before, but like I read the books when I was like 17 and they stuck with me in a very specific way that seeing it, and I really love the work of, and I've been told I've been saying his name wrong, Denis Villeneuve. I've loved all his other stuff. I loved Blade Runner 2049. I loved Sicario. Sicario was fantastic. And I actually really liked Arrival. I thought Arrival was some of his best work until Blade Runner. So like the Dune stuff being a triumph is fantastic. I like good science fiction. I like good space opera stuff that actually like feels deep, and this was one of them. So, and it's very fun. It's become a byword and a very fun meme that whenever someone does something really cool, you just start screaming, "Lisan al Gaib! Lisan al Gaib!" Arrival is one of the best movies you've seen. Yeah, no, Arrival it's not his loudest movie. And he's very good at loud, but Arrival was just so clever. Arrival was just very thoughtful, and the alien design was really cool. The idea of the language was incredibly cool as well. Like, there were so many little things about Arrival that it's probably one of my favorite one of those type of we're trying to talk to aliens movies. Are you comfortable if our only starting corners are Davis, Robertson, and Mosley? Kinda. I mean, should be all right. I think we're leaving out a couple more in there right now. If we're talking starting, then yeah. I mean, Branch is technically starting as far as the nickel there as well. I think the Lions are going to pick up one more at some point. I mean, even before this particular news, I thought they were going to probably look at someone like, say, I don't know, someone in the draft. But Branch is definitely like, so what is it? You're starting Davis, Mosley, and you got Robertson on depth. Yeah, I'm fine. Whatever. Yeah, well, it's like that. It's that nickel safety, right? I mean, it's that nickel corner, right? Like he's going to keep getting listed on depth charts as a safety, but he's definitely not a safety. Lions play some very just non-positional defensive back arrangements. So, like, I think if you're just looking to tick off CB 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's not going to look that clean, So. We are finally out of winter, and I know that's not really helping when I think there's a cold snap due for you guys up in the Midwest. It is currently like high 70s here in Southern California right now, though. So hope you guys get out there and get some sun at some point. I hate these kind of cold snaps. They would always destroy like tomatoes and everything. Yeah, again, sorry, I didn't mean to keep dipping my toes in the Sutton stuff. I don't have anything to add on anything that people are asking me on Twitch in regards to Sutton. I think that's really about it, though. We didn't want to be too late here on the stream. Yeah, I know that cold snap is brutal, kid. I know. I'm more than aware of it. Anyway, we're going to get out of here. I don't really have anyone to raid, and I do need to scrape the stream to get my audio for the podcast. So we're going to just wrap it up here, and hope you guys have a good day. Hope it warms up for you who are in the cold snap areas. And look for the podcast on the streams.